Hey guys, Nick Schoen from Showtime Strength. Today we're going to give you a rundown of how I like to program max effort lower exercises. All right, and the way I do that is we run it on a 4-week schedule, and sometimes if you're getting ready for a meet, you can change that schedule a little bit, but pretty much what we're doing is we're going to have a low box squat day, a deadlift day, a good morning day, and that fourth workout is just accessories. And while the accessory workout might sound like the easiest because it's not a true max effort movement, it usually ends up being one of the more difficult workouts of that 4-week wave because your rest periods are pretty much cut down to nothing and your volume is way up. So generally on a max effort day, the volume's really low, but on that accessory day, we flip it. So like I said, so a low box squat, and generally that would be done with a close stance, but it doesn't have to be. Then a good morning, and then a deadlift, accessories. So this is pretty much week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. And the reason on week 4 we go down to accessories, so for us, our lower, max effort lower was on Mondays. This would be the week that we're gonna work up heavy on squat on Friday. All right, so I never liked doing a max squat on Mondays. I always kept mine for Fridays, either at the end of a 3-week wave or in the middle sometimes, but generally it was at the end of a 3-week wave. I usually prefer to always get at least 5 sets of work in and then work up. Unless I was getting ready for a competition, I really wouldn't just work up to a single. So I'll give you some examples of different variations you could use, and these are some of the more common ones that I preferred. So safety bar, close stance, straight weight, and again, with a low box, it could be anywhere from a 10 to a 13-inch box. All right, I liked with the close stance in the low box, we had a 10-inch box here. What that's gonna be is essentially it's a deadlift builder because you're gonna get pitched forward a little bit. You're gonna have to fight through a much longer range of motion. I think it's one of the best movements to help your deadlift. So then a cambered bar, bands. So cambered bar with bands, Zerker, and then buffalo bar with chains, and then safety bar with bands. Those are 5 examples of variations that you could use. And again, close stance will build your deadlift. And then even if you decide to use like a normal squat stance, I'd still bring it in, bring your stance in a little bit, because generally on Mondays with the low box, we're not gonna put our gear on. All right, so then good morning, my favorite good morning variation, suspended camber bar with bands, safety bar with straight weight, suspended camber bar, suspended safety bar with bands, and then just camber bar straight weight. Those are probably my 4 favorite variations. And then honestly, sometimes you'd be surprised. The good morning workouts were generally not very long workouts because, you know, we'd be making plate jumps. So you make 4 jumps, half your group's out, and then the strong people keep working up, and then you split. I mean, it really didn't take that long. And then after this workout, what would we do after the main lift? You know, you do close stance, good mornings. Sometimes I would just go 2 to 3 sets, opposite stance, good mornings on whatever variation. So if I'm in close, I'll move my feet out wide and do a couple sets. And then I generally do like on the suspended good morning days, I do a squat out of the straps, just like sets of 8 to 12, just really working on building the hips. And then deadlift variations, mini band, deficit, pin pull. We really never did that much reverse band. I don't really think we ever got that much out of it. Deficit, weight on mats. And then weight on mat with bands. So then weight on mat with bands. All right, and after a deadlift, I would generally go into something, you know, either maybe a low box squat variation, again, just for some reps, the 8 to 15 range, or a good morning variation, you know, depending on how your low back feels. Sometimes I'd use that deadlift workout to work up to a heavy set of 5 on like a 45-degree back raise. So just working up really heavy on that. So then accessories, what's this? So here's what we would do a lot. We just line up our machines, back attack, belt squat, hypers, and glute hams. So we just do like 4 rounds of that, you know, 10 to 20 reps each. And then after that, lats, abs, traps, and sled, and just do 2 to 4 rounds of that. I mean, it would be 30, 40 minutes, but it's an intense 30, 40 minutes. And you can alter the rep ranges. It really depends on where you're at in your competition cycle. Just understand a true definition of max effort is a 1 rep. If I wasn't getting ready for anything, there'd be days where I would use a 3 rep max. 5s can be a little much. On the good mornings, you can get away with 5s and triples. Deadlifts, I generally stayed at 1. I didn't really like messing with reps on deadlift. The fatigue, I was able to just work up and get more out of it just with that. The low box, again, that's a great one if you want to go to a heavy 3, heavy 5. And then again, you're right here on that 4th week, the volume is going to be way higher. So these are pretty much the standard exercises that I used or continue to use. And so week 1, do your low box. Week 2, do a good morning variation. Week 3, deadlift variation. Week 4, accessories. And, you know, so always think main lift, supplemental lift. So like I said, a low box, you could pair that up with a RDL or a Dremel deadlift. A good morning, again, you could use the RDL or a front squat or bottom up squat variation. So this could be anywhere from 3 to 5 sets. And really, you can go heavy or light to moderate. It'll just depend on where you're at in your competition cycle and what your goal is for using that movement in that spot. And then after that, I'd go into accessories. So low back, upper back. So hypers, rows, glute hams. Then generally I'd throw something for abs in here. And then if you want, at the end, which is always a good idea, conditioning. So drags, farmer's walks, walking for super heavyweights. Walking will probably be enough. So this is generally how we lay out our max effort lower. If you guys have any questions, leave them in the comments or feel free to email me, nick@showtimestrength.com.